Hello, everyone. Hyperight team today has the pleasure to talk with another speaker during Data Innovation Summit 2022, Georgios Gkekas. Georgios, thank you for taking the time to do this interview. Can you please introduce yourself? Tell us more about yourself, your professional background, and what's your current working focus?
Yes, sure. The pleasure is all mine. Thanks a lot for inviting me also to your event. I have studied informatics and computer science in Greece, where I come from originally, and also then in the United States, where I did my master's. I'm actually a software engineer by heart. And during the first years, I started 15 years ago as a software engineer, and during those first years, I have designed and built various systems for the financial service industry, mainly on the backend side of the things by using programming languages like Java, Scala, and Python. I have always had a passion dealing with complexity theory and the dynamics of distributed systems, and this passion brought me at some point in my career to the Deutsche Leasing Group, in which I have served 3 years long as the enterprise data architect in the enterprise architecture team. And now we come close actually to my current role, to my current position, when the call has been made from the executive board to me to become the chief technology officer of Ventio, which is actually the digital spin-off of the Deutsche Leasing Group. I immediately said yes, because I knew that this position would give me enough freedom to build my own teams and design the systems that we were entrusted with, actually, with the technologies and concepts I am believing in. And in that position currently, as the CTO of Ventio, besides being responsible for the overall IT of the company, I am entrusted also with the building of the data science software, but also cloud engineering capabilities, which will position our company at the heart of the digitalization efforts of our mother company, Deutsche Leasing.
Interesting to hear all of that, very impressive. And also we'd like to hear more about your presentation during Data Innovation Summit. The topic of your presentation is how to enable secure and compliant data science operations in the cloud. Can you give us brief information what delegates during the summit can expect from your presentation?
Yeah, sure. Well, it all comes down to the very topic of the presentation. You said it yourself, it is about enabling compliant data science activities and operations in the cloud. And why this is actually a big topic? Well, the financial services industry in Europe, especially in Europe, is still struggling to adapt scalable platforms in the cloud for getting an edge in terms of performance, cost, and time to market efficiency. That's why I will start by presenting the environment in which we, the Ventio, operates, and also its mother company, Deutsche Leasing. And this is important actually for the delegates to understand in order to see where we come from and actually why it has been, let's say, a challenge for us to do these things and where they can get the most value of. And then I will continue with how the data science journey started within our group. During the presentation, I will be explaining how we approach the data science, ranging from how we placed it at the board level and which decisions we made subsequently on a strategical, organizational, but also technical level to ensure full flexibility and cutting-edge technology for providing modern data science services to our mother company. And I am sure, and that's why I chose this topic, that there are many other companies out there which might be at the crossroad we were a couple of years ago, and they can profit from our experience and results.
I hope that will be very helpful. Let's see how that will be accepted. And we are curious to know what's the mission of the advanced analytics team in your company in this whole process.
Yeah, well, again, I have to mention what Ventio is because
Yes.
people hearing us need to understand this. It's a 100% daughter company of the Deutsche Leasing Group in Germany, and entrusted as such with the build of digital solutions in the area of business-to-business asset financing. Just a disclaimer here, when we at the Deutsche Leasing Group are talking about assets, we mean actually the objects that we lease to our customers, to our business customers. It's not about financial assets. And this can be big construction machines, cranes, baggers, medical equipment, even big containers and properties. And since our financing solutions, are very much object and asset related, and those assets belong to us, there is a huge potential arising from harnessing and analyzing the data that those assets produce. So our strategic goal in the data science team of Ventio, or advanced analytics team, as you also mentioned it, is to reach the point in which we provide value through the intelligent analysis of the various data produced by our assets. However, this is the mid to long-term goal of the data science team. Having said that, our focus is currently to just establish the data science as a discipline within the group and prove the value it can provide to business by reaching the so-called low-hanging fruits, which are use cases from the areas of sales, marketing, after sales, etc.
Thank you for this clarification. Now back to your presentation, the overview of it is the journey of setting up a data science team. Can you please tell us more about that journey?
Yes, I will spend a bit more time to answering this. Deutsche Leasing was actually not one of the early adapters in the area of data science. 3 years ago, data science was just one more thing to follow up on within the group, and internal competencies were not existent. As such, the senior management didn't exactly know how to approach the topic. And back then, as I have already mentioned in my introduction, I was still an architect in the enterprise architecture team of the Deutsche Leasing. And we managed actually to persuade the management to form very fast a task force consisting of a digital innovation manager and me as an architect in order to push the concept and the idea further and explain actually how we could start with data science and what this all means or would mean for the group. Along the way, different decisions were made, with the most important being to establish data science internally in the group, like to build up the competencies by ourselves, and to create subsequently also the digital spin-off, another legal entity, which is actually our current company, Ventio, in order to drive the data science activities forward from that point. And from that moment on, the managing directors of Ventio and I, as chief technology officer, were entrusted with finding the appropriate skills for creating the data science team of the group. We started by having the focus primarily on data scientists, but we knew from the very beginning that more competencies were actually there needed. And that's why we went ahead and hired not only data science, but also data engineers and systems engineers as well. And those skills are especially necessary when it comes to productionization of the data science solutions. To our surprise, we find it currently more difficult to find appropriate data and systems engineers than data scientists. So all in all, our journey in building the ever-forming team is extremely interesting, since we literally started from the scratch, and this is something I will go in detail also in presentation.
Good to know. And hearing all of this, according to you, what are the challenges when setting up a data science team, and what can be the ways to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, we are also the right people to answer that, because we started from scratch, as I already mentioned. And first of all, you need, of course, the appropriate skills, especially in an environment where the competencies and the skills are not existent, as I said already. And these do not encompass only the traditional role of the data scientist. In my opinion, though, this is not the biggest challenge while setting up a team, and most primarily actually establishing it, because it's important to keep the team and establish it in the organization, not just form it. So once you have a critical mass of competencies and skills, so once you overpass this point and you hire the people, you can start implementing your use cases, and you can start creating some value with data science. However, keeping there a good balance between the expectations of your data science team and the expectations on the business side is very challenging. Many data science teams stumble across the challenge of management expectation on the business side at a very early phase. The expectations there on the business side are poorly maintained, partly because the business has unrealistic expectations, and partly because they sometimes don't dare to accept new technologies, methodologies, and solutions. And now this is where the challenge comes in. This can fire back to the data science team, since the team actually gets demotivated by the low acceptance of their solutions and ideas on the other side. And the right thing to do here is to create a stable and realistic backlog of data science use cases before you even build a very big data science team. This is of paramount importance, and we have seen it from the very early during our journey. This is one thing. So you need a very good backlog in order to keep the things going. And another advice is also to aim, as I have already mentioned a bit, for the low-hanging fruits from the very beginning, because then this increases the acceptance rate of the data science activities on the business side. And this means that keep it stupid simple, as we say sometimes in software engineering, is very true even in data science. activities. However, there is no perfect recipe here, since the reason for having failed data science use cases differ a lot from company to company. In the end, it all comes down to having realistic expectations, a very good buy-in in the senior management. And for the last one to be achieved, you need a thorough and transparent explanation of what data science looks like in the industry.
Very, very good to know all of this. And thank you for sharing your expertise with us on this question and on this topic. From what I can understand is that not just the company needs a knowledgeable and skillful team, but also a strategy. They are going hand by hand, but they're not same. And you're pointing out this in your presentation. Can you tell us about end-to-end data science strategy from data acquisition over the model development to the production, something that you talked before?
Yes, I found this question actually very interesting, and this is one of my key messages in the presentation. I have come in touch with data science activities back in 2015 when I was actually an advanced analytics architect at another big international bank. And I have also this experience. And back then, the team in this bank had a strategy to just create data science models, make them production ready, and that was all it. There was no productionization strategy, or at least a way how to go to production, because this was considered actually an IT topic. They wanted actually to offload it to the IT. So guess what? Many good data science models never saw the light of production because the traditional IT was not ready to accept it. So we stumbled across all the inflexible IT standards and guidelines, lack of competencies for running such solution to production, etc. And this made it difficult for us actually to provide this value with our data science models that we have built. So when I was then entrusted with building up the data science capabilities at Ventio, I followed a slightly different approach based on the experience I have made in the past. And then we followed, we had the focus more on the execution part and less on the experimental. We didn't want actually to create this kind of laboratory environment where people like data scientists just create some crazy cool ideas. But we said from the very beginning, hey, we need actually to bring these ideas also to production and in such a way that it can be also accepted by the IT. That's why we have created a target operating model, and we have staffed the company with the appropriate skills, not only with data science, but also with engineers and systems engineers, in order to be able to go to production uninterruptedly. And you will definitely see that in my presentation.
Interesting. And also in your presentation, you will give an emphasis to ways to build a data analytics platform in the cloud and connecting it to required IT infrastructure. Why is this important? And how can the data science team and the entire organization, in fact, benefit from this kind of platform?
Mm-hmm. Well, we have all been talking since a decade now about the data that is the new oil. We don't hear this sentence anymore and so often because actually this is now considered a fact. We know that we can actually get more value out by analyzing in an intelligent way the data that we have. But if the data can provide so much added value, especially the advent of data science activities, then the regulation comes in at a certain point in time. There are various data protection regulations across the world, with the most prominent one being GDPR in Europe. In essence, this means you cannot anymore just apply technology and scientific methods out of the box in order to do data science, but you need to take care of all those regulations, be sure that both on a technical but also organizational level, you are compliant with law. Taking care of the regulations is the only way in which data science can be applied in a professional environment. And the situation becomes even more complicated because GDPR actually is valid for all the companies in every branch, but the situation becomes then a bit more complicated if you are operating in a financial services environment, which is the case for our mother company. So for us, making a compliant platform and connecting it to the regulated infrastructure of financial services provider was a one-way road. There is no way that we could escape that. We had to do it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to get the data off the Deutsche list for implementing data science use case for them. The challenge for us was mostly persuading the other side, our mother company, that we could do it even in the cloud, that we could create a compliant platform in the cloud, and of course, harnessing or taking advantage of all the benefits that the cloud in terms of increased efficiency, performance, time to market, and initial costs can give to us. And this is how we can benefit from that, actually.
So many helpful tips and tricks, let's say. So what your final recommendations would be for anybody that's interested in setting up data science operations in the cloud?
I have one key message in my presentation regarding that, and this is having actually the right architecture right from the beginning. I don't know if it is because I am also an engineer and architect by heart, but I strongly believe in that by having the right design from the beginning can solve all your problems. And sometimes the IT people, whether they are architects, systems engineers, or software engineers, get intimidated by the sheer amount of regulations imposed on them, and when it comes to the cloud, especially in the financial service industry. You don't need to be afraid of those, since all of the guidelines and regulations that you can that need to be fulfilled can be implemented actually with the right design and approach from the beginning. And then you just have to showcase that you can implement that with your favorite cloud vendor. So actually, my key message here for everyone and getting into this journey is, first, understand the regulations. Second, create a good architecture and know what you're doing. And three, don't be afraid, just do it.
I hope anybody that's interested in this will find it helpful. And we usually end these conversations, these interviews, with something a little bit personal. In this case, about what's the best advice that you received during your career, and in the same time, what's the advice that you want to give to anybody that's interested in data, architecture, as you said, and so on.
Sure, actually, the best advice I have ever got is quite a straightforward one. There is no magic here, but it has been actually following me up to now, and it will be following me in the years to come. And I need to explain a bit the environment in which I was when I got it. So it was actually in my early years as an engineer. I had only 2 to 3 years experience. And I started thinking already about the next step to take in my career. And then I asked for an appointment with my HR management. And we had a small conversation. And at some point, he told me, look, Georgios, you seem to be talented in what you do as a software engineer. You seem to be doing it well. We have good feedback also. My advice is that you actually keep on doing what you do best at the moment. You don't actually look left and right. And because you seem to be passionate about what you're doing. And if you love what you do, you will automatically do it better and better and better. And when the moment is right, actually, for you to take the next step, you will understand it by yourself. And I can just repeat this advice. I really followed it, and I had quite a smooth, let's say, career so far, where I moved from an engineer to an architect and then to a CTO. And I was always actually very, very happy about my job, and I liked what I did. And so what I can say is I repeat this advice also to all the other data or engineering enthusiasts out there. And I can say on top of that, don't get blinded, especially in the early stages of your career, by higher salary promises, which might be tied with a managerial position or something similar. Keep on doing what you do best. Take a good example from motivating, enthusiastic people in your area. It's important to find also these mentors and to stick to them. And try always to be hands-on. Very, very important in our area. Really hands-on. Real-world practical experience is indispensable in order for you to be able to take more ownership and responsibility in the future. There is no other way around it.
Amazing. And stay passionate. From what I also could conclude, that passion that you had reflected in your work, and I hope others will also do the same. Thank you once again for this interesting talk, and we are all looking forward to hear what you have to share with us during Data Innovation Summit 2022.
Thanks as well.